Breaking the land bridge, the race to cut Crimea off. For nearly 2 years, Russia's lifeline to Crimea, the so-called land bridge, through Melitopol and Mariupol, has been untouchable. It carried fuel, ammunition, and reinforcements to sustain the war. But now, Ukraine's southern push has brought that artery within reach. This isn't just geography, it's strategy. If Ukraine severs the land bridge, Crimea becomes an island again, cut off from the Russian mainland. No supplies, no escape routes, no second chances. Ukrainian artillery and long-range drones are already reshaping this corridor. Bridges tremble under precise HIMARS strikes. Supply convoys scatter along damaged highways. Even Russian soldiers whisper that Crimea is next. But breaking the land bridge is no easy feat. Russian defenses here are dense, rows of trenches, mine belts, dragon's teeth, and electronic jammers that distort GPS-guided weapons. It's a fortress built out of fear. Still, Ukraine adapts. Their engineers map weak spots. Their partisans inside Melitopol send coordinates. And their drone pilots strike day and night. It's a chess game played with real lives, where every move reshapes the battlefield. In Europe's war rooms, analysts call it the turning point, the operation that could determine how history remembers this conflict. For the soldiers on the ground, it's simpler. They fight to make sure Crimea, once taken by force, will be freed by will. And as the first Ukrainian rockets hit the bridge near Chonhar, one thought spreads through every Russian command post. The walls of Crimea are closing in. Crimea under siege, the island of fire. Crimea, once Russia's proud symbol of conquest, is now turning into a trap. What was once a fortress has become a target. Day by day, Ukraine tightens the noose, striking deeper and more precisely than ever before. The skies above Sevastopol burn with the glow of intercepted missiles. Black Sea Fleet ships hide in fear, hugging the coast, their crews sleeping in their boots. For the first time since 2014, Russia's command realizes that Crimea is no longer safe, not from air, not from sea, not even from within. Ukrainian long-range drones hit depots in Jankoy, airfields in Saki, and radar sites near Yevpatoria. Each strike sends shockwaves through Russian logistics, and panic through the ranks. Civilians flee toward the Kerch Bridge, the same bridge that now stands cracked, trembling, and within Ukrainian range. But the most powerful weapon isn't the missile, it's the message. The message that Crimea, stolen in 2014, can no longer be held by force. That the peninsula's fate is changing, not through politics, but through precision and persistence. Inside bunkers, Russian officers whisper, if Crimea falls, the war changes forever. They are right, because Crimea is not just land, it's the symbol of Putin's empire. And its siege marks the beginning of that empire's unraveling. As night falls over the Black Sea, explosions light up the horizon. Ukraine's flag may not yet fly there, but its shadow already does. The Black Sea turns against Russia. 4 centuries. Russia ruled the Black Sea with confidence, its fleets unchallenged, its ports secure. But that age of dominance is fading fast. The sea that once protected. Moscow's ambitions has now become its greatest vulnerability. Ukraine's naval war is not about battleships, it's about innovation. Armed with homemade sea drones and British-supplied Storm Shadow missiles, Kiev has turned the Black Sea into a hunting ground. Each attack is a message. Even the mightiest fleet can bleed. In late 2024, explosions rocked Sevastopol's harbor. A Russian landing ship, the Minsk, was obliterated overnight. Soon after, missile strikes crippled the Black Sea. Fleet's headquarters, the very heart of Russia's naval command. Cameras caught the moment of impact. The world saw smoke rising over the symbol of Russian power. What once was a Russian lake is now a contested battlefield. Merchant ships flying neutral flags now sail freely under Ukrainian protection, while Russian vessels retreat east, too afraid to leave port. Europe watches closely, because the control of the Black Sea means control of trade, grain, and stability. And with every successful strike, Ukraine reminds the world that courage and ingenuity can outmatch numbers and size. In Moscow, the loss stings deeper than military defeat. It's humiliation, played live on global television. The Black Sea, once a symbol of Russian might, now whispers a new truth. Power is nothing without control. Inside Sevastopol, fear beneath the surface. In Sevastopol, the once proud naval city now lives in silence. Shops close early, streets go dark, and whispers replace the sound of military marches. People used to speak proudly of the Black Sea Fleet. Now, they speak only in fear. After the missile strike that shattered the fleet's headquarters, life here changed forever. Families of officers quietly fled the city. The once bustling harbour, filled with sailors and tourists, now lies under constant drone alert. You can hear the distant hum of generators where electricity was lost, and the cold wind blowing through empty docks. Inside the military compound, panic is disguised as discipline. Russian commanders reshuffle every few weeks, searching for someone to blame or to escape responsibility. Soldiers are told to dig trenches along the coast, even as Ukrainian drones buzz overhead. They know the next explosion could come from the sea or the sky. For the people of Sevastopol, the fear is not just of bombs, but of uncertainty. They no longer know who controls their future, Moscow or Kiev. And deep down, they realize that the war they once ignored has come home. Every rumor spreads like wildfire. A destroyed ship, a drone sighting, a secret evacuation. And yet, amid the fear, there's a quiet awakening. A sense that maybe the empire they were told to love is beginning to crumble. Sevastopol is no longer just a military target. It's a symbol of how wars turn pride into silence and cities into shadows. Ukraine's silent hunters, the rise of sea drones. They call them the silent hunters. Small, fast, and nearly invisible, Ukraine's sea drones have changed the balance of power in the Black Sea. What began as a desperate experiment is now a revolution in naval warfare. Each drone costs a fraction of a missile. Yet with a single strike, it can cripple a ship worth hundreds of millions. Powered by electric engines and guided by satellite links, these drones weave through the waves like ghosts. They are not just machines, they are symbols of ingenuity born out of survival. When the first wave of drones hit Sevastopol's port, Russian commanders refused to believe it. How could fishermen defeat our fleet? They mocked, but laughter turned to panic when explosions lit up the night sky. Video from Ukrainian operators captured the moment of impact, the camera shaking, the sea erupting in flames. Since then, these sea ghosts have hunted relentlessly, striking warships, fuel depots, and radar stations. Each mission pushes the limits of distance and precision, and every success is broadcast to the world, proving that technology, not just firepower, defines modern warfare. Behind every drone is a team of young, Ukrainian engineers, many of them once IT students, gamers, or mechanics. Now, they work in secret facilities along the Dnipro River, building the next generation of sea hunters. To them, this is not just defense, it's justice. A way to fight back against a giant that once seemed untouchable. The Black Sea no longer belongs to the largest fleet. It belongs to the smartest minds. The drone factories, Ukraine's hidden workshops of war. Far from the frontlines, deep inside abandoned industrial zones. A new kind of army is rising, not soldiers, but builders. They work in silence, surrounded by the smell of metal, oil, and soldering smoke. These are Ukraine's hidden drone factories, the secret workshops that fuel the nation's invisible war. Inside these dimly lit rooms, young engineers and volunteers turn scrap parts into deadly precision weapons. Commercial boat engines become drone motors. Cameras from broken phones become navigation eyes. Every piece tells a story of resourcefulness, of a nation that refuses to surrender. Funding comes not from billion-dollar contracts, but from ordinary citizens. Farmers, teachers, taxi drivers, all donating to keep the production alive. Each dollar, each component, becomes part of a weapon that might defend their city tomorrow. The security is tight. No phones, no GPS. Workers speak in code. knowing that one careless word could lead Russian missiles straight to their doors. They live with constant fear, and yet they keep building, because they know that every drone launched means one less Russian missile hitting a Ukrainian home. Western intelligence calls these networks the invisible front. It's a world where technology, patriotism, and desperation merge into something unstoppable. And as Ukraine's drone program expands, it no longer just reacts, it leads. It shows the world that courage and innovation can thrive even under siege. In these hidden factories, you don't hear the sound of speeches or parades, only the hum of creation. That's the sound of resistance. The turning tide, Russia's failing naval strategy. For decades, Russia relied on the Black Sea as a shield, a fortress that ensured its southern flank remained untouchable. But that strategy is crumbling. Ukraine's combination of sea drones, precision missiles, and intelligence strikes has transformed the battlefield. Where once Russian fleets patrolled confidently, now they retreat, hidden in ports and harbors, afraid to sail. Commanders scramble, issuing conflicting orders, while crews question the purpose of every deployment. The losses are mounting. Fuel depots destroyed, supply lines severed, warships immobilized. Every strike chips away at morale, making it harder to coordinate an effective response. Even domestic propaganda struggles to mask the growing unease within the fleet. Ukraine's tactics aren't just about destruction, they're about psychology. Every drone that penetrates Russian defenses, every strike that reaches a port, sends a message. Control of the Black Sea no longer belongs to size or legacy. It belongs to adaptability and courage. European analysts watch in or as a smaller force imposes its will on a larger one, demonstrating a new principle of modern warfare. Technology and ingenuity can outweigh raw firepower. And for Moscow, that lesson comes at a cost: lost prestige, lost assets, and a growing realization that their southern strategy has failed. As Ukraine continues to innovate, the tide is turning. The Black Sea, once a Russian domain, is now a theater of Ukrainian ingenuity and audacity. And with every operation, Ukraine edges closer to isolating Crimea, undermining Russia's defensive posture, and shifting the strategic balance in the south. The psychological front, fear in Moscow. Thousands of kilometers from the front lines, Moscow begins to feel the tremors of Ukraine's advance. Not on maps, not in headlines, but in the minds of those who command, plan, and live under the shadow of defeat. Missiles that reach Crimea, drone strikes on supply depots, and the collapse of defensive lines create more than physical damage. They spread fear. Inside the Kremlin, advisors argue over every decision. Officers hesitate to send reinforcements. Commanders question orders that once seemed ironclad. The public sees only propaganda, confident speeches, controlled images, and reassurances of strength. But behind closed doors, panic spreads. Social media leaks hint at evacuations, resignations, and growing unrest. For the first time, Russian citizens sense vulnerability where once they saw invincibility. This psychological front is just as vital as any battlefield. Ukraine understands that wars are won not only by firepower but by undermining the enemy's belief in victory. Each successful strike, each breached line, weakens morale. Every loss in Crimea or the southern front whispers the same message to Moscow: the tide is turning, and time is no longer on their side. For Europe, the lesson is clear. Modern warfare reaches far beyond soldiers and tanks. It penetrates media, minds, and morale. And in the quiet corridors of power, Ukraine's victories ripple, shaping the calculations of generals, politicians, and citizens alike. Fear, once an abstract concept, now dictates actions, strategies, and priorities, showing that psychological warfare is inseparable from the physical. Supply lines in shambles, Russia's southern collapse. The veins of war are the supply lines, fuel, ammunition, and reinforcements that keep an army alive. For Russia's southern front, those veins are breaking. Ukraine's long-range strikes, sea drones, and sabotage campaigns have disrupted every major corridor. Convoys are ambushed, bridges destroyed, depots in flames. Where once supplies flowed steadily, now chaos reigns. In Melitopol, Russian officers scramble to reroute convoys through secondary roads. They hide shipments in forests and abandoned factories. But Ukraine's reconnaissance drones watch everything. Every adjustment is counted. Every safe route is compromised. The impact is visible on the front lines. Artillery shells run low. Infantry units are under-equipped. Tanks idle without fuel. Morale dips as soldiers wait for supplies that never arrive. Europe watches in astonishment. Ukraine, with a smaller army, has turned logistics into a weapon, not by brute force, but by precision and strategy. It's a modern illustration of Sun Tzu's principle. The line between victory and defeat often lies in supply chain. For Moscow, this collapse is catastrophic. Not only does it weaken forces, but it erodes confidence, creating panic at both tactical and strategic levels. Commanders are forced to make impossible decisions: retreat, risk encirclement, or hold lines without adequate resources. Ukraine doesn't need to destroy every Russian unit to win. It only needs to control the flow of war. And with each disrupted convoy, each destroyed depot, the southern collapse accelerates, inching Crimea closer to isolation, and Russia closer to desperation. The encirclement begins. Ukraine tightens the noose. As the southern front lines bend under pressure, Ukraine's strategy becomes clear: encircle, isolate, and force collapse. The cities of Tokmak and Melitopol are no longer just objectives, they are traps, designed to cut Russian forces from reinforcements and supplies. Ukrainian commanders orchestrate advances from multiple directions. Infantry, armored units, and drones converge simultaneously, creating a web of control over roads, bridges, and key terrain. Russian units trapped in these pockets face impossible choices: fight, retreat, or surrender. The encirclement isn't just tactical, it's psychological. Soldiers watch from their trenches as escape routes vanish, while artillery and drones strike from unexpected angles. Confusion spreads like wildfire. Coordination collapses. Every delayed order, every disrupted supply line accelerates the encirclement. Civilian populations also feel the pressure. Ukrainian forces carefully secure zones to avoid unnecessary casualties. But the presence of war and disruption reinforces Russia's vulnerability. Maps across Europe show the tightening noose around the southern front. Analysts note that once the land bridge to Crimea is severed, Russian forces may face isolation unprecedented since the invasion began. Ukraine's strategy emphasizes patience and precision. It's not about rapid conquest, but creating conditions where the enemy's options shrink until collapse is inevitable. The encirclement signals a turning point, the moment when initiative fully shifts from Russia to Ukraine. In the coming days, the outcome of this southern campaign will determine the broader trajectory of the war, proving that strategy, innovation, and relentless pressure can overcome even the most formidable defenses.